Hi you guys, welcome, välkomna, dobro pожаловать. My name is Samantha Rogers. Today it's Friday and I have another true crime stories with Sal for you. Oh my god, I took out my acrylic nails to let my own nails kind of rest. I look like I have a 12-year-old boy's hand right now. And it's so difficult for me to function without nails. Like, I don't know how you girls do it without nails. Like, I have to have nails. That's like extra grip for me. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing great. I again took a break last week. I actually decided that this every other Friday works best for me. Not only do I get a break from all of the horrible crimes and what have you, constantly have to think about it, research it, it also gives me more time to kind of like truly find a case that not many YouTube creators have talked about, because I know, true crime has become a ocean of, couch investigators, true crime YouTubers. So I feel like repeating same cases like other true crimes have, and it feels like, it's a case that like 10 other people talk. Not saying that the case is not important enough, but I feel like the cases that are not being talked about are equally as important. So I always try to find a case that is not commonly or like haven't been heard of and people haven't, discovered that case yet. And quickly before we jump into today's case, I just want to tell you guys that I also opened a Etsy store. I do print on demand jewelry on that store called Styles by Sal. I teamed up with an amazing company that designs jewelry. It's his and hers jewelry, gift jewelry, timeless gift jewelry. You can gift it any year to any age. Very cute. Some of the pieces are customized. I'm going to leave my Etsy store link in the description box. And also, if you always click on the link where it says my other social media, you will find all of my stores, my social media, my Amazon, my TikTok, Instagram, all of that good stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys check it out. And if you do, if you don't make a purchase, maybe you can send the link to someone that would be, interested. Like I said, my page, more my store is pretty new. So all the love and all the sharing of that page means a lot, and I'm very grateful if you can help me out, to get my little Etsy store out there. For today's case, quick a little side note. It's again true crime, yes, a true story. I will not reveal the victim's true identity. You already know the drill. I, have the utmost respect for the victim and the victim's family, and they've been through enough. I'm gonna, call the victim another name, but the perpetrator and people, involved are named by their true name. So it's easy just to Google the perpetrator and the whole case will probably pop up. So, my darlings, let me grab my coffee, take a little quick sip before we dive into today's case. Today's case takes place in Vancouver, Canada. By the way, Canada is on my bucket list. I so want to visit Canada, especially like the nature part, the foresty part of Canada. Oh, so beautiful. I literally been in love with Canada's forest nature since I was a kid. So definitely bucket list to go and visit. The year of this case is 1992. But before we dive in to what happened on that fateful day on August 5th in 1992, we need to go back to understand this whole situation. So the main character in this story, who I will call Erin, she was born in 1966, and her family flew from Yugoslavia to Canada, Vancouver, to kind of like, start a new life, better life for their daughter, what have you. I do not know if Erin was born in Yugoslavia and then the whole family packed up and left to Vancouver, Canada, or she was born in Vancouver, Canada. Nevertheless, she was raised in Canada. Erin was very, very close to her family, her mother in particular. And throughout her childhood, her parents were very hardworking parents. Like I said, they moved to a new country. They basically had to start over with the language first and what have you. So when Erin was growing up, her parents were constantly working. As a teenager, Erin was not only funny and, the one that always was cracking jokes, she was very loved by her friends. Everyone liked to hang out with Erin. She was very, easy to hang out with. She was very sweet, very nice to everyone, very funny. Her friends kind of like pushed her to go and pursue a beauty pageant. She never viewed herself, ever doing any sorts of beauty pageants or modeling, what have you. But her friends encouraged her, and they said, like, you have the looks, you have the height, like, you're gorgeous. You like every time you walk in a room, people breaking their necks. So you definitely should look into it. And just to kind of like have fun with it, she actually applied for this Vancouver beauty pageant. And she actually won. And to her surprise, she won. But her friends were like, "We told you. Like, you have the looks, you have the everything. Like, you are a beauty queen." And after winning the local Vancouver pageant, Erin actually went to the big like Miss Canada beauty pageant, but unfortunately she didn't win. But she didn't take it as like a loss, or she was not disappointed. She just took it as like a great experience, something to tell her kids later in life. And she was not, like sad about it. She just like, oh well, I did this. This was fun. Whatever. Moving on. After graduating, Erin started working as a dental assistant. On the weekends, Erin and her mother had this particular hobby of theirs. They like to go on open houses and kind of like, pretend that they are interested in the property, or they're going to, looking for a new home, what have you. And just to kind of like, walk around, see the property, and kind of like visualizing themselves that one day they will actually be able to move in to a gorgeous house, that their whole family can live in. And just a side note, this is actually a great manifestation technique, to be honest with you. When I heard this, I'm like, that's actually a great thing to do. Like, if you guys believe in manifesting and, like speaking things to existence, going on open houses, if you are looking, or your dream is to move into a luxurious house or dream home, that's actually a great way to just kind of like go and, visit these open houses, walk around the property, so you kind of like have the feeling and you can easily manifest your dream house. So yeah, anyways, that's exactly what they were doing, and they loved it. And one day they were at this local open house. They were visiting this house, walking around, and they were talking in their native language, which they usually do at home. And this lady that was also at this open house, she overheard them talking, and she barged in on their conversation. Is like, "Oh, guys, you guys are from Yugoslavia. Oh my God, me too. Me and my husband and our son, we moved here to Canada as well a few years back, and what have you." So they started kind of like talking, and they realized that they have a lot of things in common. That this lady also liked to come and do this, like, tours, open house tour, just to kind of like visualize herself living in a similar house one day, for her and her family. And not only were they also from the same country, they had kids that were in the same age. So this lady basically asked Erin if she was single, and first Erin thought it was a little bit weird, but she's like, "Yeah, I am. Why?" And then this lady said that she had a son that is kind of like the same age as her, and he would be perfect for her, and that they own a mechanic car shop, and that, like, she would love for Erin to come and visit one day to kind of meet her son. And Erin brought it up like, "Oh, you know what? Actually, I need like a tune-up on my car. My car started making weird sounds, so I'm maybe come by one day and, have my car looked at." And the lady said, "Of course, here's my card. You're more than welcome. I would love to introduce you to my son." This seemingly nice but very intrusive lady, her name is Jelka Pesic, and she did have a son. His name was Joe. A week goes by, and Aaron decides to actually take this Yelka's offer, take this offer, and go and have her car checked out. So she, drove to the address on the little card that she had that Yelka gave her. And as soon as she arrived at the mechanic shop, she saw Yelka in the front desk. When Yelka saw Aaron, she jumped out. She was so happy. Oh my God, you're here. Wait till you meet your son. But Aaron told her that, not to be rude, I'm not here to meet your son, but I'm actually here to have my car checked up. She said, no problem, we get that fixed, but I really want you to, introduce you to my son. So, I mean, Aaron didn't have anything else better to do. She was waiting for her car to be, inspected on. So she's like, okay, whatever. And a few minutes, Joe Pesich, Yelka's son, walks out of the other room. And at first glance, Aaron actually thought that he looked handsome. And, they struck up conversation, and Yelka was very pushy. She's like, you're single, she's single, you guys need to go on a date. And, and the couple just thought it was funny because, this is the first time meeting, and the mom is so pushy. So they thought it was kind of cute, funny. But they actually exchanged numbers, and a few days later, they went on a date. According to Aaron's friends, they kissed, her and Joe kissed on the first date, and Aaron was just like, how good of a kisser he was. So she told her friend, like, oh my God, he's such a good kisser. Like, I can't wait to see him again. And from that day forward, they went on numerous dates, and Joe made sure that he took Aaron on luxurious dinner dates, like the finest restaurants. He also owned a motorcycle, so he usually picked her up in the motorcycle. They went on adventure, and Joe really knew how to woo Aaron, basically, how to impress her. And he always sent her flowers to her work, where she worked as a dental assistant, and she always got some card and then flowers sent to her. So he was the perfect gentleman. Just a few months of dating, actually, Joe proposed, and Aaron was just over the moon happy. She was so happy. She said yes, and they started planning their wedding. And as soon as they start planning their wedding, Aaron start noticing Yelka's true colors, her true behavior, her true personality. Even though when she first met Yelka, Joe's mother, she was very pushy. She's like, you have to meet my son. So she kind of had that in her back of her mind, that Yelka is very pushy, She doesn't take no for an answer. But when they were dating, her and Joe, she never kind of interacted with Yelka like that. Like, that was like, she never were intimate with her, or went her and Yelka went on a coffee date. So she didn't have that much knowledge of Yelka's personality until they got engaged. Her and Joe got engaged and start planning their wedding, that she truly starts seeing the real Yelka. And the real Yelka was very, very over the top, dominant, pushy. She was definitely the pants in the house. She decided what to go, what not to, and her son and her husband had nothing to say. She wanted to plan their whole wedding. She, was the one that said the location gonna be on the wedding, even what type of dresses Aaron's bridesmaids should wear, the type of food that they should have at the reception, all of it. Basically, it was Yelka's wedding, and, she decided. And of course, Aaron didn't take it well because, again, this is her first wedding. She never been married. And, Yelka just takes the spotlight of, she's acting like she's the bride, basically. So at first, Aaron, she spoke to Joe about it, can you please talk to your mother? And, because she didn't want to be mean either. I mean, she just gonna, she doesn't know them like that, her in-laws or her future in-laws. So she didn't want to be too mean. But then at the end, when she noticed that Joe, according to Joe, he did speak, but then turned out later that he didn't talk to his mom about it. And then Aaron was like, basically like, I'm not going to marry you if your mother going to be in charge of the wedding. And at that point, Joe spoke to Yelka, to his mom, and basically told her that you need to kind of like step back a little bit because, at the end, it's Aaron's and my wedding, not yours. So Elka kind of like stepped back a little bit. She was not happy about it, and according to sources, she was, barely talking to Aaron throughout the whole planning of the wedding. She kind of was ignoring her, but Erin didn't take it as hurtful. She was kind of like relieved, like, okay, thank God, I don't need to talk to her. As long as she just stay away from the planning of the wedding, I'm good. Like, if she doesn't want to talk to me, I'm good with that. On June 11th of 1988, Joe and Erin got married in this beautiful ceremony, and everything went perfect, just as planned. And after the wedding, the couple went to Hawaii for their honeymoon. Coming back from their honeymoon, Erin quickly noticed huge changes in their apartment. So, the apartment that she shared with Joe. Not only was furniture moved, even replaced with other furniture, it looks like someone basically came to their house and completely redecorated everything, switched up stuff or moved stuff, even kind of like switched up food in their refrigerator to other foods item or what have you. And even like some of Erin's clothes were even missing, and she had, pair of new pants and shirts and blouses that she never ever remember purchasing. And of course, it turned out to be Yelka. As soon as the couple left to their honeymoon to Hawaii, Yelka, she had a spare key, and she basically walked into the apartment and started redecorating, started reorganizing, throwing away stuff, buying new stuff, replacing stuff, just as she wanted it to be. Erin was definitely not happy, and she actually confronted both Joe, her husband now, and her not future, but her actual mother-in-law, Yelka. Confronted her about this, and according to Yelka, she kind of like shrugged it off and like, "You just making a big deal out of it. I just try to be nice to you guys." One evening, Yelka and her husband come knocking on Erin's and Joe's apartment, and they basically tell them that they needed to come in to tell them some amazing news. And even though Erin was first hesitant, every time Yelka comes and visits them, she's always hesitant because, again, they are still having this tension between them, between Erin and Yelka. Yelka is still, her bossy self. So, Erin tried to avoid her as much as possible. So again, she was not happy having Yelka coming there, visit her in the middle of the night. But when they sat down at the kitchen table and Yelka lay out the good news that she had, they were actually very surprised. So basically, Yelka tells Joe and Erin that her and her husband, so Joe's dad, have put down an $80,000 down payment on a house for them to live in, for Joe and Erin to live in. And they really wanted them to move into this house because they can't continue living in this small apartment, especially if they're gonna have kids in the future, what have you. And this definitely took Joe and Erin by surprise because their salary was not big enough to buy a house yet, and they definitely wanted to live in a house in the future, but they didn't know exactly when that future will be. So now they have this opportunity, and they kind of looked at each other and were like super excited, and they said yes. The next day, Joe and Erin drove to the house, their new soon-to-be house, and the first thing Erin noticed was how close the house location was to Yelka's house. Literally like 5 minutes away. Okay, so that was kind of like a red flag for Erin. But as soon as she saw the house, she immediately fell in love. She like knew that this would be their new home. It was amazing. It was perfect. And, they agreed to move in. In a couple of weeks after signing all the papers and doing, the payments or what have you, the couple moved into the new home. But of course, same thing as it was before. Yelka started being super dominant, start deciding what to change in the house. Even when they had like a little house tour, Yelka was pointing out different areas in the house, like, oh my God, I can't wait to, fix the tile in the kitchen, or oh my God, this wall needs to be this color, and like kind of like it's her house. And again, Aaron asked Joe to speak to your mom, and he said he would, and that he did, but again, he never did. Fast forward a couple of months, and Aaron and Joe are now parents. Aaron gave birth to a baby boy who they named Brandon. And one evening, Joe and Aaron decide to go kind of like on a date, like a little break from the baby. So they decided to go on a date night. And then Aaron asked Joe to, call someone to babysit little baby Brandon. And Joe said he did, and the babysitter will be arriving around 8. So, Aaron started getting dressed and what have you, get ready for the date. When the babysitter arrived, it was none other than Yelka, Joe's mother. And when Aaron saw Yelka in her house, she kind of looked at Joe and was like, is this the babysitter you were talking about? And, she was not happy to leave her baby boy with Yelka, but, she didn't have a choice. Yelka was like, don't worry about it. I have taken care of plenty of babies. I know what I'm doing. But still, Aaron had like specific detailed description of what to feed, or like a little schedule that she had for baby Brandon. And she was very, very particular with like that she left some breast milk and to just feed him breast milk, basically nothing else. And then he needs to go to bed by 8 or by 9, what have you. And, Yelka just shrugged it off. Okay, I got it. I know what I'm doing. And the couple left. So the couple went to their favorite restaurant. They having a great time eating dinner. And then afterwards, they decide to go to this local club for some drinks or what have you. But when they're at the club, Erin just get this feeling. And she felt like, using the payphone. Again, this is the 80s, no cell phone. She went to put some quarters in the payphone to call home to check up on Brandon, what have you. And Yelka answered, and she just asked her, like, how's everything going, what have you. She's like, it's fine. He's knocked out. He's sleeping. I gave him some tea. And when Erin heard this, she's like, what kind of tea? I told you specifically he doesn't drink anything else besides breast milk. She's like, relax. It's a tea that my family been drinking generations. It's a special, like a family a recipe tea, what have you. So, don't worry. But Erin was worried. So she told Joe that we need to go home. Like, I don't know. She gave Brandon some tea, and I just want to check up on him. So when they arrived, she, ran upstairs to the little baby's crib. And when she lifted baby Brandon up, he was still breathing, but he was literally knocked out. Like he was kind of limp in her arms, and she vaguely heard his breath. So she panicked, and she took baby Brandon and rushed to the ER. And the doctors took a look at him. Luckily, nothing was wrong, but the doctor's like, whatever he got, never ever give that to him again. And at that time, Joe arrived, and Erin was just like, I have enough. Like, I had enough with your mother. I put up with her, but now when she's like, hurting my child, enough is enough. She basically gave Joe an ultimatum, like either your mother or me. But the thing is with Joe, he basically, his mother was not only his mother, she was also his boss. So she knew that she had this grip on her son. So she basically told him, like, if you not going to speak to your family, or if you leave this family, you are left out of the family business. You will not get any money. You will not get any heritage or what have you. So he was basically tied up. So even though he loved Erin, but, he chose his mother because, again, she had this tight grip on him. And without his mother, he would not have a paycheck. He would not have a home. Erin and baby Brandon stayed at Erin's mother's house, and soon after, Erin filed for divorce. And this divorce got very nasty very quickly. While the divorce was finalizing, Yelka changed all the locks in the couple's home. Even though Aaron still had some like big stuff, or like some furniture, some clothing, what have you, that belonged to Aaron, Yelka didn't care. She changed the locks, and she even wrote a letter to Aaron that if she ever needed to visit the house for some reason, she needed a permission from Yelka to enter the house. But after the divorce was finalized, the judge agreed on that the full custody would belong to Aaron. Not only that, Aaron would also get the full home ownership that Yelka put the down payment on. So that home would belong to baby Brandon and Aaron. And also Joe had to pay child support. And another thing that the judge ordered was for Yelka to stay away, to not have any contact with baby Brandon due to all of the incident that happened with the tea and all of that. And as you guys can imagine, this did not sit well with Yelka, neither Joe. So they couldn't do anything. They were furious. But they couldn't do anything. They just had to keep an appearance and just appeal in hopes of that the judge would change his mind. So we are now in around June of 1992. So Aaron and Joe are divorced. They have been divorced for a year now. And Aaron is living with baby Brandon in their home. And so around June, Aaron receives a package. And in this package, there are no returning address, so she doesn't know who this package is from. And in this package is a book. And this book is a book about this woman. Her name is Cindy James. So basically, the book's name is Murders of Cindy James. And Cindy James is a true crime story. I might cover it one day on my channel. It's a very interesting, till this day, it's an unsolved story, a true crime story. And it's about this woman that also lived in Canada a few years prior to 1992, and she was basically harassed and stalked by an unknown perpetrator. Till this day, the person or persons were never caught, and she was harassed and stalked until they finally killed her. And this was going on for years, by the way. And strange things were happening to Sydney, like, again, like people or a person was following her. Dead animals were showing up on her front porch. Trees were lit on fire. Strange, mysterious calls in the middle of the night when she picked up. No one would answer, what have you. So, yeah, this was still is a very eerie and, unsolved case till this day. And it was very known in the area in Vancouver. And when Erin received this book, at first she didn't think much of it. She's like, oh, maybe I signed up for like a book club, what have you, I don't know. So she kind of put the book away. But then later that night, coming home after work, she started she opened up the book and started reading through some pages. And then she noticed that some of the phrases in that book was kind of marked with a marker. And the particular areas in the book where the marker was, it was like that this woman, Sydney James, were followed by a strange man, that she would receive calls in the middle of the night, that her tree was set on fire in front of her house, and eventually the last marker says, you're dead. So basically, that was the part where Sydney James was killed. And immediately, Aaron was like, oh my God, this has to be Joe, because, he's probably sending me to be as a cruel ass joke to scare me. One night, Aaron and her friend sitting at Aaron's living room talking, chatting, and Aaron and her friend hears this weird cracking sound outside her window. And since at evenings, Aaron always closed her curtains, so she kind of opened the curtain to peek out, and she sees her tree on the front of her house is on fire. And grabs the book and literally shows her friend the same passage where the marker was in the book about the burning tree. And she said, look, I told you, this book that I got that I think is Joe, that gave me this book. Look, it says about the burning tree. What is going on? It's a burning tree outside my house. So of course they called the fire department. They called the police. And when the fire department and police arrived, Erin told them about this whole book situation and that she believes it could be Joe behind all of this. But since it was no proof, police can do nothing, basically. And they said, like, if something like this happens again, you just call us and we show up and, hopefully we catch whoever did this. But of course, this would continue. Erin would continue receiving strange calls in the middle of the night. When she picks up, she can hear the person breathe, in the other line, but she doesn't know who it is, a woman or man. They don't answer. She hangs up. They call back again. It became so much that Erin literally needed to kind of like turn off the phone, like unplug it at nights, because the phone calls were basically waking her and baby Brandon up. Erin would also, feel like she constantly being watched, like someone was following her when she was out and about doing errands or coming home from work. She felt like a certain car was driving, kind of like following her and what have you. It was one particular incident that she actually saw a man through her window peeking inside the door, like inside the room through the window, and she got super scared, so she ran to check all the locks that they were locked. And as soon as she did that, she could hear the man banging on the walls of the house, the windows, what have you. She called the police arrived, the man was long gone. Same thing again, they cannot do nothing, they didn't find any evidence. If that happens again, just call them. So that brings us to the fateful day of August 5th, 1992. And this is approximately 2 months after Erin received that book about Sidney James's horrible, tragic death. So she is on alert. So again, like I told you, strange things has been happened to Erin. Same exact things that it was marked in that book that happened to Sidney happened to Erin. So the only thing that is now basically missing or haven't happened is that Erin would be killed, just like Sidney. So Erin is very on high alert, and her and her coworker always made sure that they drove to and from work together. So Erin always made sure she had someone with her in the car, that she was not alone, because again, police could not help her. I also forgot to mention, Erin actually at some point hired a private detective, but the private detective couldn't help her either. He was spying on the Passage family, the Yelka and Joe, but according to the private detective, they were not doing anything out of the ordinary. Every time he was spying on them, they were just going about their day. Nothing seemed weird or what have you. So Erin didn't have no one to, basically help her. So her and her coworker was leaving work on August 5th, and they parked outside their work because Erin was too paranoid to park. They had like a parking structure inside the office, but Erin didn't want to do that because the parking structure is, again, it's like, closed off area. Anyone can enter it like without being seen. So she wanted to be on the street. If anything happens, everyone can see it. So they returning from work, from the office, and so Erin went into the car first, and then she opened the door to her coworker friend. As soon as the friend sat down, she had a big, like a gym bag, so she kind of like half ducked down to place the gym bag between her feet on the front seat. And as soon as she was kind of like ducked down, she heard this car approaching, and she heard loud pow, 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 6 shots fired. And as soon as she heard the shots going off, she doesn't know where from, so she kind of like ducked down deeper, dug her head inside the gym bag, and just kind of like, was terrified, screaming, scared. After the 6th shot ran out, she could hear the tires of that car squeaking, and then, just booking out of there. And she could see it was a red car when she came out of the, her hiding. She could see it was a red car. She couldn't see the license plate. And she quickly looked over to her friend Aaron, and unfortunately her friend Aaron was slumped over the driver, or the front driver seat, or what have you, and she was hit in the head twice. Ambulance and police arrived at the scene, and Aaron was pronounced dead shortly after arriving to the hospital. At this time, Aaron was only 25 years old. This whole incident was devastating, not only for the coworkers and the friends of Aaron, but Aaron's poor mother. She took it very, very hard, losing her daughter. Now, I don't know if Aaron was the only child or she had other siblings. She might have a brother from the pictures that I could see online. I think it might be her brother, but I don't know. Regardless, her mother lost her daughter at the age of 25. She's still a young adult. And I saw an interview with Aaron's co-worker friend, the woman that was actually in the car when the shots were fired, or what have you, the witness. And she attended the funeral, and the funeral was an open casket, and she just couldn't look at Aaron, even though she was, of course, like normal as it could be. She looked peaceful, but she didn't want to remember her that way. And I totally I can feel her grief, because I know that my grandpa had an open casket, and I don't want to remember my grandpa like that. Like, I want to remember the fun, the loving, the jokey, like the energetic person that he was, and not like laying there in a casket. So I totally agree. I don't like open casket at all. Anyway, so yeah, and then she could see, because there was like outdoors, she could see on a hill a person on a motorcycle dressed in all black, with a helmet on, standing like from far on the hill, watching the whole ceremony. And at first she was like, who is this crazy lunatic standing in like all the black leather gear in this heat, because it's August, so it was still warm. And then she realized it was actually Joe. He was standing from far watching Aaron's funeral. Police wasted no time, and of course, the first suspect is Joe, Aaron's ex-husband, especially consider all the circumstances, the nasty divorce, and what have you. So they wasted no time to go and speak to Joe. But according to Joe, he even had a receipt to prove it. He was at a local, kind of like a swim or a pool area, a local pool, outdoor pool, with his son, with baby Brandon, and he had a receipt to prove it. And so he had an alibi, basically. But police didn't take it good, like, okay, yeah, great, then on to the next one, because they felt like it was a little bit too convenient that he, all of a sudden, on that day that his wife being killed, or ex-wife being killed, that he had to make sure he had a receipt. Usually, like, you get a receipt, you throw it away, or sprinkle it somewhere in a pocket and you don't know where it is. But he made sure to present that receipt. So it was a little bit too convenient, the police thought. And so they actually start to stake out their house. So Joe's house, where he lived with Jelka and his father. And at first few days, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Like, nothing seemed weird. Like, they were in and out of the house. No one was like coming in or out. Nothing weird activity. But on the fifth day, they noticed that Jelka left the house, and as soon as she got in her car, she kind of like drove out of her little garage, or what have you, and then she stopped on the street. And from the back door, a man coming from the back door and sat in the back seat of the car and kind of leaned down on the seat so he's not being seen. And this man was not her husband nor Joe. And this man came out from her back door house. So they're like, why is he, not sitting next to her? Why is he like kind of ducked down so no one can see him? Like, this is odd. So police basically followed that car. They followed it to the closest mall, and they parked. They see Jelka, got out of the car and walked into the mall. And then this man that was laying down on the seat hiding, he also got out a few minutes later and walked on another entrance, like he entered the mall on another entrance. So they never walked together. And then after a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes, Yelka returns again by herself, sits in a car, and then a few minutes later, that other gentleman walks in, and same thing. He ducks down on the back seat. No one can see them. They drive back to Yelka's house. Yelka get out of the car, goes inside the house. The man jumps out of her back seat, and then he goes into another car that's parked on the street. He turns on the engine and drives away. And at this point, police felt like this is super odd. So they followed that car, the man in the car, for a few blocks, and then they eventually stopped him. And once he got out of the car, he basically was wearing shorts or what have you, like it's summer, what have you. So in the pocket of the shorts, I don't know if the short pocket was too small, or I don't know if he, whatever, bunch of $100 bills just flew out of his pocket as soon as he got out of the car. And the police immediately felt like, okay, this is definitely murder for hire. Why would this man have hundreds and hundreds of dollars cash in his pocket? So they immediately arrest him. Turned out that this man was named Milan Vinadic, and he was actually a family friend of Joe and Yelka and all of the Passage family. And he was actually one of the guests during Aaron's and Joe's wedding. And this man was basically hired by Yelka to kill Aaron, or he was hired because he knew of a hitman, and this hitman was some like petty theft criminal, that would do anything for just money. So this third man, he basically was hired by Milan, and the $100 bill turned out to be a $30,000 that Yelka paid Milan that day to split, to kind of like take half, 15, and then give the rest to the other guy that actually committed the murder, that shot Aaron that fateful day on August 5th. All three of this perpetrator, Yelka, and the two men were arrested. They were convicted a year later, and they got the maximum life sentence that was maximum at that time in Canada, which was 25 years. And baby Brandon, he got basically, Aaron's family got full custody of baby Brandon, and the whole Passage family were forbidden to ever speak or see baby Brandon again. Well, that, my friend, is the tragic story of Erin, who lost her life way too soon, and actually the tragic story of baby Brandon. I couldn't find anything on him at this moment. I believe he is in his, or he should be in his 30s, like 33, 32, if I did the math correctly, if he was born 1989. But yeah, I hope that he, turned out to be a great man, and I'm sure he did, being raised by Aaron's family. They seem like very loving and careful family, care for each other a lot. So yeah, like not only did baby Brandon lost his mother, he also lost his father, because after this, Joe was not allowed to basically speak to his son again because of his crazy ass mother. And I mean, oh my God, I can say a lot because I can relate. I had a few stories I can tell about crazy in-laws, but I leave it for another day, another occasion. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this case. Have you heard of this case? Maybe you are from Vancouver, Canada, and maybe you know something I don't know, or something I didn't mention that you heard, or what have you. So please leave everything in the comments below. I'm very eager to read if you have anything about this case. Again, make sure it's nice comments. You don't want to see anything bad, because this is real people, real story. You don't want anyone talking shit about your family. So just think twice when you write something that is not nice. Thank you so much for watching this story. Thank you for always watching my stories, taking time of your busy schedule, and listening to my accent telling a story. If you like this video, and you know who someone that will like this video, please share it, give it a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to my channel. And I hope I see you guys next Friday or Friday after Friday, because I'm taking one Friday off just to kind of research and rewind. Have a great weekend, my darlings. Ciao, cacao.